Welcome to TEPSA Talk, the podcast where leaders inspire, share, and grow together. TEPSA is dedicated to celebrating the incredible work happening in education. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations with leaders, change-makers, and innovators who are shaping the future of our schools. Whether you're looking for fresh ideas, encouragement, or a little spark to fuel your passion, TEPSA Talk is here for you. Imagine tuning in to hear how leaders are revolutionizing their schools, tackling challenges head-on, and fostering a culture of collaboration. Grab a coffee, hit play, and let's grow together. Welcome to TEPSA Talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TEPSA Talk podcast. I'm your host, Todd Nesloney, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are thrilled each week to bring you different thought leaders from around the world, and today we have none other than another Texas leader, and that is Karen May. Karen, tell everybody who you are.
Hi, everybody. I am Karen May, and I am a special programs coordinator. So I'm that S in TEPSA supervisor. And I was a former assistant principal, and I am on the Region 11 board. I am the secretary.
Awesome. And we are so glad that you started with you mentioning that you are the S in TEPSA. A lot of people think it's just principals that are part of TEPSA, but the reality is we've got a lot of principals, assistant principals, and the S stands for supervisors like you. So let's dive a little bit back into your background and kind of your experience in education. So talk to me a little about where you started in education. What did you start with doing?
Okay, so I started as a special education teacher, and really my beginnings in special education were brought on because my brother was in special education growing up. He was in a life skills class, in a self-contained class, and he really had a lot of potential, but it wasn't saw through. He didn't get the opportunities that a lot of kids now get. So he graduated from high school and he was still unable to read. So as he was graduating from high school, I was finishing up middle school and just seeing him in the real world and how it was. And I wanted to basically just have a bigger impact and show that those kids, like my brother, they can learn too. And so when I went away to college, I got him a cell phone. On my plan, you could get like 3 or 4 free phones or whatever it was. And I began calling him all the time and teaching him how to text very slowly. So he was learning to read. And that really fueled my passion for special education, is to do that. And then from there, as a leader in special education, I was encouraged by my principal, who was amazing, Ben Renner. He encouraged me to go and get my principal certification because he saw me as a campus leader. And I did it and was able to move pretty much right away into an assistant principal role in my current district. And I've served as an assistant principal at intermediate, secondary, and elementary. So I've kind of run the gamut there, and I've loved every bit of it. And here I am now. I'm serving as a special programs coordinator, getting back to my special education roots and helping the entire district with special education.
I love that story so much. And I love all the different experience that you've got to have as well. Moving from a classroom teacher to an administrator to now helping out even more. What are some of the big things that you've learned along the way that you're like, okay, this is what I would definitely tell people, like to either be wary of or to be thinking about, or this is what you get to do, like some of those misunderstood things?
I think one of the biggest things is really like supervisors are never out to get you. I think that we all want to support students, and to support students, we have to support each other in our roles. As an administrator, as an assistant principal, I worked really hard to support my staff, but now as a coordinator, I've worked very hard to support principals who have centralized programming on their campus and make sure that they have the resources that they need. I don't think that anybody is ever out to get you. We're all here for the same purpose, and I think that's what we always need to remember.
And I think that's such a good point. Sometimes we can kind of feel like certain positions or people are like out to get us, and it's like, no, we're all just working towards the same goal and all of that. Well, I know something that is also super close to your heart is pouring into others and really kind of lifting others up and things like that. Has that like always been a part of who you are, Or was that something like, when I got into these different spaces, I really saw the value in this and fell in love with doing this for others?
Yeah, I think it's always really been who I am. When I was in high school, I ran for class officer, and my slogan was "Karen cares." So I do care, and I truly do want the best for every person. I was poured into growing up, and then as a leader myself, even as a teacher, I really tried to build capacity in those around me. So and that's what I do now. Not only build capacity through leadership opportunities, and uh, giving people the opportunity to just grow and learn from that hands-on learning with another person who's, you know, there's no risk here. Like it is a very risk-free environment. We can both make mistakes and it's okay. But I think also, especially in the environment that we're in, the temperature, if you will, the climate, if you will, we have to pour into each other all the time, so that we keep going and we want to stay in education. We need great educators, and I don't want them to leave. So I know personally, from my point of view, what I do when I go to campuses is I always come back to my office and I write a handwritten note, thanking them for their time and also maybe for something that they taught me. Um, and it's kind of a joke between me and the other coordinator in my office. She found out that I was writing these notes and she was like, "No wonder people like you." And I was like, "Really? It has nothing to do with that." I think I'm building just these relationships that allow people to feel free and open to come back then and ask questions that they may feel are dumb or, silly. There's no silly question. There's no dumb question. But when you build those relationships and pour into people like that, there's no risk. It's just I'm just another human, another person. And there's so much grace in that and so much just learning that can happen.
Well, I love that you share that because it doesn't have to be complicated. Like, that's what I love about what you just shared is that it can be something as simple as writing a note. What it comes down to is you acknowledging that that person did something fantastic and that you saw it. Because, we all sometimes live in these silos where we only believe what's right in front of us. And we are convinced that that bad phone call or that rude email defines our whole time in education. And we need people like that pouring into us. When you think about your own experience, whether as assistant principal or as a teacher too, does anything stick out in your memory of when somebody really poured into you or really like celebrated you in a way that you were like, oh, that was like such a good thing that I got instead of because sometimes we can be so giving to others that it's also good to hear like something that happened to you that you were like that was so meaningful.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it was when I received the TEPSA AP of the Year last year. First of all, it was a long shot to get that opportunity. There are so many assistant principals in my region. It's huge. But whenever I found out that I got it, first of all, I thought they were kidding. But then when others started to find out, they were like, well, duh, of course you are, right? One day I was at central office and I was having a pretty important meeting with our deputy superintendent, and I got a phone call from my principal, and I didn't answer it because I was meeting with my deputy superintendent. And then my principal called the deputy superintendent during our meeting, and she was like, "What? Okay, yeah, she's coming right now." So she sent me away back to my campus. She said there was some emergency. So I get there, and my entire staff, this was after school hours. School had already ended. The entire staff is lined up. They have a red carpet rolled out and leading into the library. And I'm a big fan of pickles. I don't know how other people feel about pickles, but I love anything pickled. And so they had the students that day while I was at that meeting create banners about how it was such a big deal. And they were hanging everywhere. And that, of course, meant a lot. But I walked into the school on this red carpet, and in the library was all of the staff members. And they had a big pickle party, a big dill party, if you will. So that was just unexpected, I think. But, day to day, you just give and you give and you give, and you work so hard to see growth in everyone's students and teachers, and to see somebody recognize the growth that you've even had is just a pretty big deal.
Well, and anytime we can be celebrated is great, but I love a good theme too, so I love the pickle tie-in with the big deal and all that. But it's such a good reminder that this field is one that we are constantly pouring into others. And even those little moments, like you shared earlier, were just a note written to someone. That's why those mean so much. And that's why this work is so important as well. Well, Karen, at some point too, you decided, you know what, I might want to get a little bit more involved in TEPSA or what they're doing and just add one more thing to my already full plate. How did that come about? When did you decide that, maybe looking into some of those leadership opportunities was up your alley?
Yeah, so after I had been in TEPSA for a couple of years, but then after getting this award, I really started to network a little bit more with the other board members and members, and I love them. Like, I love them. I don't think you understand. They are good friends now.
Huh?
And when you're given the opportunity to just get to know people who truly care as much as you do, you want to be around those people all the time. And I think that's what's so important about TEPSA is that everybody that I've met in TEPSA has been that kind of person that is just so willing to do whatever it takes for kids, whatever it takes for educators, that I want to be a part of that because that's something really special.
Well, and I'd love to springboard from that into, I think that that is probably one of the reasons why you can add this to your plate without it feeling like, oh my God, just one more thing I have to do. Would you say that that's kind of true too? Like that's the whole purpose is that you have more people in your network, in your corner.
Absolutely. And there have been times when I have an idea or a problem, then I can go to those people and say, hey, what did you do when? Or what do you think about this idea? Because oftentimes, especially as an assistant principal, you are on an island. You are the only assistant principal at an elementary campus typically. And there's not that other person that you can reach out to. That has the time maybe, but shooting a quick text to somebody and say, hey, will you look at this and see what you think? Like that is just invaluable. And when you're talking about, you know, the thing that you want to do, I think that whenever I go to, for example, our region meetups or our board meetings, it's like a breath of fresh air. Just hearing stories and knowing that you're not alone. Everyone's in the trenches and everyone's going through something. It's just so nice to be able to. I won't even say commiserate because really we don't. We really celebrate each other. That's the word. Celebrate our victories when we go through those hard times. I will say, probably when I was a middle school assistant principal, I may have commiserated a little bit, but now, like being a part of such positive groups, it's not like that. It is truly like, what is a victory that you've had? And we're cheering each other on, and that pushes you to keep going. It's not an extra thing, it's like a must-have thing.
Well, and I love that you share that because that reminds me so much of my own journey. And it's like that's how we survive in this work is we find those like-minded individuals, we connect with them, we build relationships, we have that time to talk about the hard stuff, but we also have that time to celebrate little things and see who's in our corner and things like that. So I love that you shared that. Well, Karen, as we begin to wrap this conversation up, there's always one question that I love to kind of end these on, and that is we've talked about a variety of things here today, but if you have somebody listening or somebody watching and you're like, I just want to make sure they hear this one thing, like what's your one thing you'd want to leave our people with?
Yeah, so my motto, I think, is count it all joy. Whenever you go through these tough times, count it as a joy, a little, another thing that you can help somebody in the future when they're going through a hard time. You've already been through it, you can help them through it. So count it all joy when you go through those trials, when you go through those tribulations and those late nights and all of the things, those hard parent phone calls, because next time it's going to be a lot easier. So just count it all joy.
Love that. Well, Karen, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening or watching another episode of our TEPSA Talk podcast. If you are a preschool through 8th grade administrator or supervisor who wants to be a part of TEPSA, you can learn more at tepsa.org. Thank you all for joining, and we hope to see you again next week with another all new guest.